everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing a full face of Westman Atelier. A lot of you guys reached out to me after this brand launched on the Sephora website, wanting me to review it and give you guys my honest opinion on it. You always know that I love to keep everything very real and very honest here on my channel, and I really didn't know anything about this brand prior to it launching on Sephora. And once it launched at Sephora, the only thing that I knew about it was the fact that it was clean and it was very expensive. That was about the only thing that I knew about it. I've already uploaded this video. I spent probably 12 hours creating that video, from filming it and doing all the swatches. The swatches was a lot of work, which I don't have to do that in this video. And then editing it, of course, and it was a very long video to edit. So in that video, again, I had no knowledge of the brand, and I did not realize that the owner of the brand is actually a celebrity professional makeup artist. Her name is Gucci Westman, and I knew nothing about it. In fact, the Gucci word kind of threw me off, because when I saw the word Gucci, I was thinking that it was affiliated in some way or created with Gucci. You guys, I knew nothing. And sometimes that's good, because I have no attachments to this brand. And I was just going into it a very new user of the brand with no expectations and just coming on camera and being very raw and real, which is a good thing. Once the video went live, it was only up for about 2 hours. When I woke up, I was reading the comments, and I was reading some of the comments, which, by the way, you guys, I just have to tell you, I freaking love you all. You guys know that, but like, I am so grateful for my YouTube family. I've always told you guys that you in the comment section is just as important as anyone turning on a camera and coming up on YouTube. Your input is just as important. And without your comment and feedback in that video, which you guys were all very nice to me, it wasn't like I got any nasty comments, but you guys were like, hey, you know, I really love this foundation and I use it this way. And, you know, I think you might have used too much, because that video, I think I took it down right when it had maybe 1,900 views on it. So it was just right under 2,000 views. But I had used it in a way that I used too much. So they're saying, you know, you might have a better experience if you use less, because I was applying it like I would in any of my other stick foundations. So as I was reading through the comments, I was thinking, wait, if I did not use these products in the way that they were intended to be used, I don't feel good about keeping this video up. So I took it down. Yes, I did spend all that time, but I take my reviews very serious. I know what it's like to be a viewer. I take my reviews very serious. I like to be thorough, and especially when it's at this price point. This brand is very, very expensive. I took all of your guys' feedback, read all of the comments, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna take all that feedback, using that information, and going into this review. So I appreciate your guys' feedback. Again, I have the best YouTube family on here, and I don't do YouTube to be a super successful influencer. My goal is to share my love for makeup and give really honest reviews, so that people are not out there wasting their money on super expensive products that don't work. That is my ultimate goal. So I had to look at it like, yeah, I could keep the video up and earn the earnings from it, but it doesn't serve a purpose if I didn't use the products right. Thank you to everyone who shared your experiences with the brand. Also your knowledge about Gucci Westman and how she has said, you know, she's done some master classes. There was a few comments in there who people have watched her master classes and have heard why she created the products that she created and how they're intended to be used. All of that information, so helpful. So that's the reason why I decided to scrap that video, take it down, and come back and do a full face with that knowledge and share with you guys my experience with this brand, Westman Atelier. So that's what we're doing in today's video, you guys. Let's go ahead and move into the application portion of the video. And then, of course, I'm going to do a 6-hour daylight check-in. I'm going to take you guys with me. I have some errands to run. So I'll take the camera with me, do a check-in in my car so you guys can see what this looks like in natural daylight. And then I'll come back and do a 12-hour check-in. And in that 12-hour check-in, I will give you guys my final thoughts. And I'm going to see if all of the suggestions on how these products are meant to be applied made a difference. So I will see you guys all in my final thoughts. Let's go ahead and jump into the application. Okay, so let's try this again. Now that I have a little bit more information about these products, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. We're going to start with the foundation. So I have 2 shades in the foundation, and when I bought it, I should have bought the shade 10, but I didn't. I bought shade 9 and I bought shade 11. So this is 9 and this is 11. So it jumps pretty good, but I think the in-between might be the best for me. Okay, so here's the thing about this foundation that I didn't quite understand, which it makes sense now, which is the reason why I'm doing this video over again. When I applied this foundation, I applied it like I do any of my other stick foundations, like my Tom Ford or even the new Huda Beauty stick foundation. Kind of apply it all over, blend it out, and then pick up anything that's remaining on the skin with a sponge. So I don't have too much on, but I got an even layer, right? Well, with this foundation, it's not meant to be all over the face, which is probably the reason why it lifted from my face. I don't know that for a fact. I will know that, once I do, the wear test today. But this foundation is designed to apply a little bit. It's more of a natural type of skin foundation where you don't need to apply a lot. I am going to grab it here on the stick with my brush and apply it like this. Instead of taking the swipes and putting it all over the face, this might be the best way for me to apply enough to get the coverage that I want, but not using too much so that it's not lifting from my skin. So, I had that same experience with the Pat McGrath foundation. When I first used it, I hated it. I could not get it to work, and it would lift from my skin just like this did. Once I learned how to use the foundation, I really love that foundation. So this might be the same type of deal. So that was one big reason why I wanted to, redo this video and learn a little bit more about the products, the information behind it, and then give my thoughts on it. So what I'm doing is I'm just going in and grabbing a little bit of the product here with my brush and spreading it as far as I can just to get a nice even thin layer of this foundation. I'm just going to take the sponge and kind of push it into the skin and make sure that I have an even layer. This is looking really good. I didn't use that much. And this is looking really good. I would say I got a nice medium coverage. You can still see some of my skin coming through here, but it's pushing into the skin really nicely, and I'm getting a good coverage. So I think this is working better than putting it all over the face like I was. And I just hope it doesn't get oily, because that was my problem with it. So it wasn't only that it was lifting from my skin, but it was getting really, really oily. All 3 days that I wore it, I powdered it. And every single day I wore it, by the end of the night, I looked like a grease ball. It was just, my skin was just really glossy. So right now it is 10:30 in the morning. So I will wear this for as long as I can, probably 12 hours. And of course I will do a 6-hour check-in in natural daylight so you guys can see what this looks like. Okay, so I went ahead and went off camera and did my brows. Now, I did notice on the website that you could use the foundation as concealer. So I went ahead and put on a little bit of my Charlotte Tilbury Vanish. This is like this is the dark circle corrector. So I just kind of placed a tiny bit here. And then I went ahead and went in with the foundation with just a smaller brush and put a little bit in and kind of like blended it in with my finger. So we'll see how that works. I didn't, I never used it as a concealer, so I'm curious. So let's move on to the contour stick. Same type of packaging, has the magnetic lid, which I have to say the overall aesthetics of the brand, very beautiful, very luxe. And I love the matte packaging. I just think it's very professional and luxury. It's really pretty. I got this in the shade Truffle. Of course, I will swatch the shade next to a few other cream contour products that I have in my collection. And I will say, I prefer cream. You guys know that. Cream contour is my thing. Anytime I use powder contour, it always looks muddy and trashy. Like, I can never use powder contour. So cream is always my jam. So this was totally right up my alley. So I'm just gonna place a little bit here and just kind of contour the face a little bit. I always like to use a small stiff brush just to kind of use like little tapping motions and kind of stipple it into the skin. And this blends out beautifully. Like it really works good. I like the contour stick. I think it has a really great texture. Now, in my final thoughts, I will let you guys know like the difference of this formula compared to other contour products that I have, so you can decide if it's, you know, worth picking up because it's so expensive. So let's move on to the bronzer. This is the packaging. It's very luxe and it's very, very heavy. It comes in this little pouch when you buy it. I really like the bronzer. But when I used the bronzer, it reminds me of the Gucci bronzer. So this one is the Eclat Soleil, and this is a really beautiful bronzer, by the way. It's one of my favorites. And I will say that the texture of these two are very similar. In fact, the only differences that I have found between the two bronzers is the one from the Westman Atelier is a little bit more pigmented, so you have to be very careful with the formula. Now, when I use the Gucci bronzer or even my Charlotte Tilbury bronzer, I love this bronzer brush. This is the airbrush from Charlotte Tilbury. But with this bronzer, it applies too much pigment. So that was my only complaint, is that when I used a stiff brush like this, something that's very compacted, it applies too much. And then you have to work really hard to kind of get it to blend out. So today I wanted to try it with a little bit less of a compacted brush, something that's a little bit more on the fluffy side, and we'll see if that makes a difference. So I am going to use the bronzer brush from Refer. This is the 25 brush, and I'm thinking just grabbing a little bit here, tap off, and just slowly kind of place it over top of the contour. And I think that might be the best way to apply this bronzer. Because it's so pigmented, I think it's best to use a little bit more of a fluffier brush so that you're kind of softly kind of applying it on the skin. That's been my experience, and I just think that you get a way better result by using a fluffier brush. Okay, let's move on to the two blushes that I got. So I picked up two shades in the blushes, and I picked up the shade Petal, and I also picked up the shade Minette, and they are beautiful blushes. So the shade Petal doesn't have any shimmer to it, and the shade Minette does. So it has some really beautiful soft shimmer to it where it doesn't emphasize your pores or your texture, and it's probably one of my favorites out of everything that I use in the brand. I think the blushes are my favorite, but I'm going to take my blush brush, I'm going to wipe it off on a towel so it's pretty much clean, and I'm going to grab the shade Petal, and we're going to put Petal on this side just to really liven up the cheeks. Now, this is how I prefer to apply. I prefer to grab it with my brush. Now, you can go directly on with these and just kind of like do these tapping motions where you want to apply the blush, and then you can blend it out. So they're very versatile. You can kind of play around with them. There's some blushes that don't really work for me going directly on the skin with them. I always have to either put it on the back of my hand or just go in with my brush. But with these, they're very versatile. I haven't had any issues with applying them, you know, different ways. So somebody mentioned in the comment section about this highlighter in the previous video that I put up that they saw Gucci Westman apply this underneath like her bronzer and blush and stuff to really give that beautiful highlight from within look. And I could totally see that. This is a really beautiful cream highlighter. So I wanted to pop on camera. This has been a very long drawn out review on this brand. I wanted to pop back on camera and show you guys some suggestions. I've been watching Gucci Westman and kind of getting her vision behind this product. She kind of recommends this as a cheek glow. It's not really intended or created for the high points of the face. She did mention that you know, the bronzer, all of her products can be applied on top of themselves. So even though the bronzer is a matte, you can use this cream highlighter over top of this matte powder bronzer and it won't disrupt it. So she made that kind of clear that these are, you know, meant to be applied any way that you want to. So she used a brush like this. It was like a flat top kind of buffer brush. This brush is dyed goat hair, and dyed goat hair is not really recommended for cream products. So I have this, which is undyed goat hair. This is the reference number 24. I use this for like foundation and stuff, but I thought this might be a good brush to apply a product like this. So I'm going to put this underneath my blush. So I've already applied a little bit of the bronzer and the contour, but I wanted to apply this underneath the blush and then on the other side, not put anything underneath it. So you guys could see the difference with this underneath blush. Just kind of tap it into the cheek like this. You can see that it kind of gave the cheek an extra glow. I haven't powdered yet, so my skin is reflecting off these lights, just FYI. But I wanted to show you guys the glow that this gives the skin. Now I'm going to take the stick blushes. This one is a solid matte. So this is the shade Petal. You can already see the color that that gave. I mean, if I look straight on, you can see that it gave me some color versus nothing on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and put this over top, and I'm going to apply it on this side that doesn't have that highlighter, and tap it over top. So looking in the mirror, this side does look a little bit less highlighted than this side. You can see the shine from the Peau de Pêche underneath here coming through more so than on this side. It's probably more of an undetectable type of product, and I'm gonna go ahead and powder right now, and then once I powder, we'll really see the glow. Now that I've calmed down the shine, you can still see the shine coming through, more so than you can on this side. I mean, you can see that not only did it make the color have a little bit more depth, but you can see that I still have the shine coming through even though I've powdered. So let's move on to the product that is for the high points of the face. This is the Lit Up Highlight Stick, and I got this in the shade Nectar. Now, this was very surprising to me because this doesn't have much of a color. You can see it shining right here, but it doesn't have much of a color. So I'm curious how this is gonna look on the skin. Now, when I got this yesterday in the mail, and I kind of had that like, uh-oh moment. This is one of those glossy type of skin highlighters that you put on the high points of your face, but if the wind's blowing, your hair is gonna stick to your face. You know what I'm talking about. Some of that like jelly, almost feels like Vaseline that you stick on your face. I think Makeup by Mario has one that's just clear. I hate that formula. I can't use it. There's several brands out there that have it, and I do not like it. So when I saw this, I was like, uh-oh, here we go again. But this doesn't feel that tacky. It doesn't feel that sticky. So this has me a little bit intrigued. So I'm going to take some here on my finger and just kind of pat it in. So it really doesn't have any color. It's just more of like a clear gloss with maybe a hint of something to it, but it's definitely more clear. So I'm going to put it on the Cupid's bow so you'll really notice the difference. So you can see it's got a little bit of something to it, but it's very light. It's not a very strong highlight at all. See that it melts right into the face. I mean, it's like very undetectable on the face. It doesn't say super sticky. So it's definitely got a little bit of a tack to it, but it feels like it wants to kind of set down. You see it sitting here on my hand. So, I mean, you can tell the kind of the difference. This hand has it on, this hand doesn't. Spotlight from Charlotte Tilbury is my favorite. I'm gonna put it right up here. By the way, these are her Beauty Light ones. So this is Spotlight and this is Westman. So I'm gonna blend out Spotlight. Okay, so you can see that the Spotlight from Charlotte Tilbury has more of a base to it. It has some opacity to it. This from Westman doesn't have opacity, but it does have a little bit of that shine. So it's much more natural than the Spotlight from Charlotte Tilbury. This is just very, very natural on the skin. And also it feels very similar to the Spotlight. And I feel like it kind of dries similar as the Spotlight. If you are someone that likes a more traditional highlighter that has opacity, this probably won't be it for you. You have to kind of decide what you're looking for and what look you're trying to achieve by buying this product. If you like that more traditional highlighter, then I don't think this is for you. If you like something very low key, but still gives the skin a nice, beautiful gloss, then I think you'll enjoy this. So let's go ahead and move on to the iPods. So there's two different sets of iPods. So I got the color, oh my gosh, what is it called? Like, I can't think off the top of my head. I think it's called Les Jouets or something like that. I remember, but there are two different sets. This is the set that I got. It comes in 3 little pods and they actually go together. So they're magnetized and you can, you know, stack them together, or it also comes in a little pouch where you can store them in the pouch. I don't know if there was like a film on top of it, but when I first went down into it, I really couldn't get any color to pick up. So I was able to kind of break through that film and put it on. But in my experience, having a fluffier brush like this is picks up the product better than something that's a little bit more solid like this. So this brush right here, I struggled getting it to pick it up. But anything that's a little bit fluffy and can like grab it, best way to apply this. So these iPods are kind of a hybrid formula. They're kind of like the best of both worlds. They're a cream and a powder together. So you don't get any fallout. They kind of apply like a cream, but they kind of dry to like a powdery finish. Now, they did crease on me. The 2 days that I wore these, they did crease on me. So we'll see. I'm going to wear them again today. We'll see if they crease. I'm going to first grab the middle shade, which is kind of like a golden peachy color. Apply this all over the lid. Now I did put down an eyelid primer and I powdered it. So I used the Makeup by Mario eyelid primer, and I also used the powder that's in that primer. Now, the thing that I will say about these iPods is I do like how easy they are to use. They're kind of that formula where you don't have to worry about them getting down under here. They're very easy to apply, very easy to build, and you know, they look really pretty. But like I said, I've had issues with them creasing on me, and I don't know if it's because, you know, I put too much on. So I'm going to put a lighter layer of it on than I did in my first video, and I'll see if it creases. I am going to go into the darkest color of the 3. It's not super creamy, so I am going to place this here on this outer corner. So then I'm just going to take a kind of a clean brush and just kind of blend out the dark here on this outer corner. And they do blend really easily. Like I do appreciate the formula. A little bit of the dark color right here on the outer corner, just to kind of have a little bit of dimension here on the lower lash line. Okay, so now that I have that done, I'm going to go into this lightest color. It's really, really light. And I'm going to put this on the inner corner. So I'm going to take my pencil brush and run my brush through it and just apply it right here on the inner corner, just to kind of brighten it up here. The only thing that I will say about these is I wish that the tubs were a little bit bigger so that I could fit my finger in there. If you have nails on, you're not going to get your finger in there. If you don't have nails, you won't have a problem. You could totally apply these right directly on the lid with your finger. But because I have nails on, I can't get my finger in there. Like, I can't get my finger in there without getting it gunked up underneath the nail. You know how that is. So I'm going to go ahead and put some mascara on these little itty bitty lashes I got. Now I did put on a brown eyeliner eyeliner up on the upper lash line. It just kind of helps to make my lashes look a little bit thicker and a little bit fuller. So normally after the first coat, I would move on to this side, but with this formula, I don't suggest doing that. So I'm going to go directly in and put one more coat on just to make sure that they're nice and coated and thicken them up a little bit. Okay, so this is the final look, and I just went ahead and put on this from Jouer. This is their High Pigment Pearl Lip Glosses. This is in the shade Maui, and it's one of my favorites. And it kind of has that peachy bronze, which is kind of what I have on my eye. So this is it. I'm going to go ahead and go about my day. I will do a midday check-in. So that's it for all the applications. I will see you guys in my 6-hour daylight check-in. Okay, everyone, I am back to give a midday check-in. I have my car running. I'm kind of cold. I had to bring my daughter to get her hair done. So it is currently 4:45 in the afternoon. So I've had this foundation on for what, probably 6 hours now, maybe 6-7 hours. I'm not sure, but I wanted to show you guys what this is looking like. And I looked in the mirror before I came on camera, and I will say that it's not as glossy as it was when I was using too much of it. So in my midday check-in in my previous video, which I will put up that footage right here, you can see that I am very, very glossy. Like, my skin was reflecting really bad, and it was very like oily looking, almost borderline greasy looking, to be quite honest with you. And now it's not that bad. Like, it's still good. I still have the glow to my skin, but it's not super, super glowy where it's just way too much. And it starts, because there's a line between glowy and oily. And in that check-in, I was looking oily, right? So let's go ahead and zoom in. Okay, so I want to mention, I just had a mask on, so the mask kind of removed it. I was wearing this kind of a mask. Okay, so it kind of removed a little bit of my makeup right here. So just FYI. But let's move into the forehead, which is where I was really struggling with it the last time I've been wearing it. And you can see it's not starting to separate like it was. I'm curious to see what it will look like tonight. It's still pretty hydrating, even though I powdered this pretty good. But even with wearing a mask, I mean, so you can see that I'm starting, because of the mask, I'm starting to lose the coverage, like right along here. You can see that coverage starting to lift. It's, you know, you can kind of see where it's kind of sitting along here. I don't know, you guys. Here's the thing. Like, you know, even though I powdered this, so for example, when I wear the Tom Ford Stick Foundation, it's very emollient based, and it's very skin-like, something similar to this. But when it fades off pretty naturally. This kind of just separates from the skin. And I'm still having this separation. I don't know. It still looks okay right now, but I kind of have a feeling by tonight it's not going to look as good. I don't know. We'll see. I wanted to show you guys what the eyeshadow is looking like. So you can see it's starting to kind of crease. All 3 times, so this is the 3rd time I've worn the iPods and the 4th time I've worn the foundation. The iPods always crease on me. I'm not sure why they crease, but they just do. So I don't know about the foundation, you guys. I'm still kind of on the fence about it. So that's it for the 6-hour check-in. Let's go ahead and jump into the shades and comparisons. Let's go ahead and jump into the swatches and comparisons, and then we will get into my 12-hour check-in, which I will then get into my final thoughts. So I will see you guys then. Okay, everyone, I am back for a 12-hour check-in and my final thoughts. So it is 11:30 at night, so it's been a really long day. Let's zoom in, and I think I'm going to turn down the ring light because the ring light just makes everything look so much better than it really does. Okay, so I've turned off the ring light and zoomed you guys in. I just have, you know, some box lights sitting in the corner to kind of lighten up the room. As you can see, I'm very glossy again. And I didn't apply that much today. I applied just a minimal amount just to give me the coverage that I need, give a smooth, even layer all over the face. And I'm still very glossy. And I even added extra powder today, especially in the T-zone. So I put the Hourglass setting powder all over the face. And then I put my Charlotte Tilbury finishing powder all over into this area. And I am super glossy. Like you can see, I am so glossy. This foundation is just way too hydrating for me. It's a weird foundation because it's very like beautiful and kind of blends out into like a powdery finish once you get it on. But as the day progresses, it doesn't have any oil blocking for me at all. And I'm not oily. It's bizarre. Now, when I put up my first video, I had somebody in the comments section say that they're oily and they love this foundation. So I can't say that it wouldn't work for those who have oily skin or combo, because I'm sure there are people out there who have combo and oily that love this. But for me being dry normal, this is just a hot mess for me. So I will say that it does look better now than it did in my previous 12-hour check-in. So I'm going to put that footage up here so you can see how it looks. And you could see that it's super patchy around my forehead, and it just like separated and kind of pulled away from the skin, which is one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to foundation. So, you know, that's the thing about this, is that even though I'm still super glossy, I don't know that it's pulling away from the skin as bad as it did when I applied more. So obviously with this foundation, less is more. And I do agree with that. See, I still have some patches right here forming, and you can see it like right above my brows. It starts to separate, and I can just literally wipe this foundation off. Can you see that? Like I'm wiping it off. So I just can't get this foundation to work for me. At the end of the day, you know, some foundations work for some and some doesn't. And this just does not work for my skin. And I've tried it with different primers. I've tried it different ways. I've really tried to make it work, but it just doesn't work for me. And that's okay. It doesn't have to. So I will say it looks better tonight than it did last night. But it's still doing the same thing. It's just not as noticeable because there's not as much foundation on. So I don't know, you guys. I still think that the foundation is a pass for me. Okay, so let me jump into my thoughts about the contour stick. This is going to be kind of repetitive from last night because I really didn't change the way that I applied the contour stick, but the contour stick works great. I love the packaging. I love the packaging on all the products, I'm going to be honest. But I do think that this contour stick is beautiful. It blends beautifully into the skin, melts into the skin, lasts all day. Like I haven't had any issues with the contour stick. I just think it's a little pricey. It is. I mean, it's $48 and you only get 6 grams worth of product, so you don't get a lot. It's very similar to my Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate. The only problem with my Shade and Illuminate is I never use this top shade. This top shade is kind of a waste for me. It's kind of supposed to be like a glossy skin type product, but I never use it. So I always just use this contour down here at the bottom. I feel like these formulas are very similar. I feel like they apply pretty similarly. So if you were thinking about getting the Tom Ford, you know, this is a great option if you will also not use this top shade. Okay, let's talk about the bronzer really fast. So here's the thing about the bronzer. The bronzer, in my opinion, is very similar formula to the Gucci bronzer. This is a little bit more pigmented than the one from Gucci. Do I feel like it's worth $75? Absolutely not. I'm sorry, I just don't think it is. I think if you were wanting to get this, you're going to get the same effects and the same results from the Gucci. So I would recommend the Gucci if it was me. If you take the price out of it, This is a beautiful bronzer. It's just very pigmented, so just go in very lightly. Don't go in heavy-handed with it because you'll have a hell of a time blending it out. Now that I have it in my collection, which one will I reach for? I think I'll still reach for the Gucci. That's just me. Let's talk about the blushes. Now, the blushes are probably my favorite thing out of everything that I used from this brand so far. Well, let me talk about the formula first of all. The formula, I think, is what makes these cream blushes so special. There's a lot of cream blushes out there that sometimes have too much of an oil slip to them, and they'll kind of slip and slide on the face, or you'll lose the pigmentation quickly throughout the day. These hold their pigmentation and they stay put, and they're absolutely beautiful. By far, my favorite product of this brand. The shade Petal, it's a beautiful, just satin type of finish. Nothing super special about this shade, I'll be honest with you, but the formula is really great. But the shade Minette is my favorite because it has a little bit of that shine to it, but it doesn't emphasize texture. And it's a very special formula in my opinion, because it's very, very hard to find those even powder shimmer blushes that won't emphasize your texture. And I did mention this in my original video that this Minette shade reminds me of the Incandescent Electra powder blush from Hourglass. And it's so stunning, so beautiful, and I love these. I will continue to use these. These are the products that I will be reaching for the most out of everything that I bought. These blushes are beautiful. Do I feel like these are worth $48? Probably not, but I do believe that that shade Minette, because of the formula and the shade, I kind of feel like it's worth it personally for me because it's special. Okay, let's move on to the iPods. So I'm going to come in close one more time and I'm going to show you that these crease. So let me turn off the ring light really fast so you guys can see that. See how I'm missing like all of the product here? Yeah, so it didn't last. They don't last. So I can't personally recommend the iPods. I think it's a good idea, but you get such little amount of product, and I just don't feel like these are worth $88. If you were gonna spend $88 on something like this, I would get a Tom Ford like wet dry formula, like the body heat palette or something like that. I just wouldn't buy these. If they didn't crease, I would probably say they're worth 50 bucks, okay? But not 88. Definitely not 88. The mascara is probably my least favorite product out of everything I used. And you can see that it has, you know, kind of come up here and it has transferred up here on my upper crease. You can see it there. So this is my least favorite product out of everything that I used from this brand. I didn't think that this formula would transfer because it's such a dry formula, but it transfers. So this is my least favorite product out of everything that I used in today's video. It gets a little bit crispy, and I do not like the crispy texture of this mascara because it's kind of hard to work with, because once it dries, it's dried. But you would think that that would stop it from transferring, but for me, it just doesn't stop it. Okay, so I wanted to pop on camera really quick and kind of give a little bit more information. I've been using these products all week, and as I was going through my final thoughts, I decided that there was a few things that I wanted to add because I do think that this is important. So let me say this. As I've used this products all week, the foundation just definitely doesn't work, obviously. My opinion hasn't really changed on the brand. This brand is for those makeup users that love just those natural makeup, where it's a little to no effort type of makeup, where it's, you know, just very soft, very effortless type of makeup. And it's very expensive, yes. Some products I don't think are worth the price. I think there's other products out on the market that are just as good of products that are much less. But there are also products that kind of stand out and kind of justify the price a little bit. Now, as you saw on camera earlier, I did use this underneath the blush, and I do think that this is the best way to use this product. I can see why people were commenting and saying, hey, this is, you know, best used underneath blush or bronzer to kind of give that lit from within look. And it's true. as I've been continued to do my makeup, I noticed that this just has more of a shine than this side. So I do like that about this product. I don't think it's a necessary product in your collection. I think it's a little overpriced for what it is, but for those that love that very glowy, natural, effortless makeup, you will probably love this brand. I think this brand targets the no makeup look, where it's very glowy, everything's very dewy, everything's very fresh, very hydrated, kind of glow from within. So I think you have to decide what kind of a makeup wearer you are. If you're somebody that likes makeup a little bit more polished, this might not be the brand that will work for you. I think I made my thoughts very clear on this lit up highlight stick. I think this is perfect for those who like a very, very soft highlight, where there's not a lot of opacity to it, but it gives the skin a nice shine. So if you're somebody that likes a little bit more of a stronger highlight, something that actually has a tone to it, then I don't necessarily think that this product is going to work for you. That's based on this shade. Of course, I don't have the other shades, but based on this shade, I think this is for that person that likes just that light flush of highlight to kind of make that skin pop, but in a very soft way. Like this brand, I'm still not fully in love with the hype behind it. I'm gonna have to kind of continue to work with it, continue to kind of play with these products, and see if my opinion changes on them. And of course, I will do a review update and kind of fill you in. I did the exact same thing with when I, tested the Chantecaille. I played with it for about a month and a half, and I still didn't really change my opinion on the brand. But I can see that there are some products in here that are worth the hype, and there are some products in here that are not. So I hope this review was helpful, and thank you for your patience. And again, thank you for all your recommendations and your suggestions on how to use this brand. It was definitely helpful and definitely kind of made me understand the brand a little bit more so that I could give a more clear, more precise, more information in this review. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me in today's video. Sound off down below. Let us know what you love about Westman Atelier and how you love to use it. What is your favorite products in the brand? And just share with us your thoughts on it, good and bad. I love all feedback. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me in today's video. I hope that you guys all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in my next video. Love you. Bye.